season 2 bathtubs. Ohio bathtub season 2. Best friends, no clothing. Confusing bathtub season. It's bathtub season. It's bathtub season. It's bathtub season. It's bathtub season.
Oh shit, are we starting? Okay. Well, hello, Austin.
Well, hello, Corey.
This is weird.
In more ways than one.
Well, I was going to say it's weird recording with at least some clothes on because I have now just gotten used to anytime I have a mic in front of me, I should feel like my clothes should be off.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm in nudist rehab right now.
I mean, we could take our clothes off. We just would have to use other websites than we normally would to upload this.
This is true. I'm not saying we can't do that, but that's not what we have set forth to do.
I really hope this turns out okay, by the way. You know, not using our normal DAWs.
Yes,
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I also hope this turns out okay. Everything's new here. Somehow this feels more ridiculous than recording just audio out of a bathtub.
It makes me really nervous to not have Logic open right now, and I know you're a Pro Tools boy.
Also not open right now. I'm also recording on a different mic than normal.
Oh, what do we got tonight?
RE320 tonight.
Ooh, classic. I'm using the same mic I do for the last season, which may be changing. I just got a new mic in the mail, but I haven't tested it out yet. But this is the Blue Spark XLR, not the USB version.
Very nice. I had a pair of those. I sold them earlier this year. Usually I record on a Sennheiser shotgun mic, but we are usually over a body of water, and I want to keep it away from the water more than I would in the living room with, a normal podcasting mic.
And it's funny because I have a professional dynamic broadcast microphone, the Aston Stealth, and I just think my voice sounds better in the cheaper Blue Spark than it does in my much more expensive broadcast microphone, which also feels wrong.
Well, maybe next season I'll have a tube condenser over the bath. We'll see.
Yep, we can only hope.
I mean, I have one. We could.
Speaking of what you're using this evening, what do you have to drink?
So funny you say that, because just to add to this being even stranger, Corey and I are not seeing each other right now. I know there's video and y'all are seeing us, but we are not seeing each other.
I thought about trying to figure out a way of doing that, and I was like, that's too much work, and I think it would kill my, 14-year-old MacBook if I try to have something other than recording software open at the same time.
I think I could do it. I'm already on the messenger call on my computer, but regardless. Tonight, I wanted to do something special, last episode, video. So here I am drinking. I made myself a Wisconsin Old Fashioned.
Ooh.
And from what I've learned online, this can be made a few different ways. The main difference being the soda used. You can use any lemon lime soda or club soda or grapefruit soda. Ooh. So I have a Wisconsin Old Fashioned with squirt.
I love squirt. Isn't that like a big thing in Finland, like alcoholic grapefruit juice?
I don't know, but I want to go to Finland if it is.
It's called like the Finnish long drink. Oh, yeah,
long drink, totally. I don't know that I knew that was grapefruit, but yes, that is a thing.
My cats are just all over me right now, so this video is going to be interesting. They've been hiding while I was setting everything up, and I was thinking they would do the same, but they've got me surrounded. But tonight I am doing a twist on something I did earlier in the season, which is just club soda with some bitters. But I'm trying some new bitters yet. I haven't tried this yet. This is Trader Joe's Classic Bitters, so we'll see how this is.
Okay. Mine has bitters in it. It is just the standard every bitters drink. I am also enjoying an Amnesia Haze pre-roll.
Nice. Yeah, this smells like the classic like Angostura bitters or however you pronounce it, but it's completely clear, which is weird.
It is weird.
But it smells and tastes just like it.
That's
And I'm drinking it
strange.
out of rocks glass that's etched with a map of the city of Dayton that my wife got me for Christmas
Very cool.
last year. 2 years
Mine,
ago now.
my glass is not etched. It was, however, a Christmas present from my friend Faf. It is a double-walled rocks glass.
Huh. Well, I guess one thing we didn't do at the top of the episode is explain what we're doing right now. I was just thinking about that.
I'm sitting in my
Yes.
living room in a robe. I don't know about you.
I'm sitting in my basement in front of a fireplace, which I wish was going right now. We have like a blizzard coming through at the moment. But we've debated what to call it this whole time, and we still haven't come up with anything. I have it written down in my notes as the wrap up towel down.
Yeah, that was one of the early contenders. I was going over the names that we had thrown out there earlier today. Actually, the open robe is probably my strongest contender right now. We had some great
Yeah.
ones though. I really want to
that, or
give
like-
I want to give a shout out to Post Soak Clarity. That was a good one.
Yeah, or like under the robe, behind the robe.
Right,
like
right.
behind the scenes. We'll figure it out. We've been saying that about our favorite line and this wrap up this whole time, and maybe we never will.
You know, this to be fair, this is our first Robeo.
That's a good one, but that only works for the first one.
It also just is weird to write out. It looks strange. It doesn't work that way.
And speaking of robes, I ordered this. I'd never had a bathrobe. It is a monogrammed Ralph Lauren bathrobe. I see it every time I'm at the Ralph Lauren store in Cincinnati, and I've always wanted one. Then I found one cheap on eBay, and I feel so classy right now.
Very nice. I do not know the brand of my bathrobe, but it is a bathrobe of sentimental value. It was my grandpa's bathrobe. And
That's so cool.
for those of you not watching the video, it is maroon. It kind of has like some teal. It's plaid. It's like black and white and maroon and kind of teal plaid. But the really unique thing about it is that my grandpa was a tallman. So sewn onto the bottom of this bathrobe so his legs wouldn't get cold is an extension of bath towel.
That's incredible. That's such a good jerry-rig solution.
Absolutely. Fantastic robe. I've had it for years now, and he had it for as long as I can remember.
Mine is dark navy with gold trim and the aforementioned Ralph Lauren monogram on the breast pocket. And it's very long. It goes right to my ankles, but I realized once I started recording, if I understand now, like with women in skirts having to wash their legs, because if I open my legs at all, my shins and feet and just like all the way up to my thigh is instantly exposed. It does not cover the bottom half very well.
Yeah. Robes have a specific obstacle that even skirts don't, I suppose, if they're slit high enough. But that's just open in the front. It's tied with one little spot.
Mine actually has another string just on one side, and I cannot for the life of me figure out where it's supposed to tie off to.
Well, let us know if you ever figure it out.
Yeah, I will. Now, I would usually say, now let's get into the episode, but there's no episode to get into this week, and I thought in my head this would be much more of a casual conversation. Did you want to start first with how the whole idea for bathtub season came about, or do you want to start with going over season 1 of The Tick from 2001?
Let's start with our conception first.
So I went back and found the first time I texted you about the idea. It was November 5th of 2022.
Okay, sounds right.
I said, I know you're at a super cool concert right now, but just had a wild podcast idea and didn't want to forget it. It's called something like Bathtub Season, and we watch TV shows that only had one season and discuss it while taking baths. Lol. Editing with audio from bathrooms may be a challenge, but I think it's weird enough idea that people might listen.
What the fuck concert was I at?
I don't know.
That's gonna bug me now.
You said something about a missing man EP. I only took a screenshot.
Oh, I was at the AFI show.
Oh, I'm so jealous about that. AFI was like my favorite band in high school. I even have like the DVD they put out way back when, like Davey had Havoc and what's it, Jade?
Yep.
Yeah, I was obsessed with both of them.
Yeah, that was a great show. Great show and fantastic podcast idea. We are now pretty much a year into this, more or less, and I've had a great time. I do think it's ironic that this all came from one drunk idea from the member of this podcast that spent the whole season sober.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about that a little bit.
Together, we've been high and dry this whole year.
So, yeah, I mean, not to get real, but I'm going to get real. I struggled with drinking for years, for many years. I don't even know if I want to put a number on it. But yeah, this idea was I was walking the dog around the field one night, fairly inebriated. This was back when my wife was pregnant with our first kid. But a few months later, the kid was, I guess it was November. So like a month later, the baby was born. And within a month or two of that, I realized I needed to get some help and went to the doctor and then got some medication and counseling that I needed. And I have been sober since. Other than date nights, I've had a glass of wine twice and then one wedding. But yeah, if you're struggling with that, I would suggest just go to the doctor like you would if you were sick, which is not something I had thought about, but it was so helpful.
Definitely.
And what came out of that is I also got diagnosed with ADHD, and that's why I had that problem, because I was self-medicating and didn't know it.
See, I know I'm self-medicating.
Yeah.
But no, I had a very similar experience, not with the drinking portion of it, but I also, within the last, 2 years, I think, also got diagnosed with ADD and realized a lot of the self-medication I had been doing over the years.
Yeah, and I think this podcast, I don't know if you want to speak on it, but you've also had a bit of a rough year. But, with dealing with my diagnoses and going over stuff like that, as well as being a new father, I was not, it's been a year. It's been a year. So I think this podcast has been helpful, at least for me, to be able to, catch up regularly with one of my oldest and best friends and have also something to distract myself and work on, which has been good, because I think before we would text back and forth maybe once every 3 to 6 months to catch up and then not talk in forever. So this has been great for, keeping in contact with a friend.
Absolutely. Because I still have relationships with other friends that are like that. And it's great when they aren't. We go through periods where we text every day or whatever, but then it goes back to we don't hear from each other for a few months, and it's one evening of, hey, what's up? How's it going? And then the same kind of thing again, a break in communication. So this, I agree, was a great excuse when I didn't want to talk to anyone to have to talk to someone.
Yeah, about something, not about what was making life difficult.
Except for the few times that the podcast made my life difficult.
Yeah. But, it's funny because after starting this, I have had like 30 more podcast ideas about for the same reason, where it's with other people that I don't talk to as much as I'd like to and want to do something like this with, because this has been such a good experience.
Right.
But that same thing goes back to how did I not know I had ADHD? This is,
Let me take on 30 projects.
oh my God, if you could see the rest of my basement right now, it's like 10 unfinished projects that I am halfway through.
Yep.
And I, along with the other podcast ideas I'm floating around in my head.
Right, of course.
But no, that's like
you're gonna be full-time editing. Like, you're gonna have to monetize.
Yeah, yes. I guess I should go over where even like the stupid drunk idea came from. This whole podcast came from the podcast The Greatest Generation, which is two friends who were in a similar situation where they were busy with family and life, and they wanted to catch up about something, decided to talk about Star Trek, and so they watched through all of Star Trek, started with The Next Generation, they did Deep Space Nine, and they are almost done with Voyager now. But at the end of every episode, and I think we could do something fun like this too, but I don't know what the options would be, they have a game where it's like shoots and ladders, and they roll some dice, and whatever it lands on could be a normal episode, or if they have to do something weird the next time they record, like get super drunk. But the one this idea came from is one of the spaces is to record from the bathtub, and I thought that was a hilarious idea. And as you probably know from listening to previous podcasts, I'm all about being cozy. And that was like, that's great. Let's just make a whole show about that. But what could we watch? I think I even suggested us doing a Star Trek podcast at some point.
Star Trek probably came up. Obviously, Firefly came up quickly.
But no, even before the idea of bathtub season, I think I asked you if you had watched Star Trek because I wanted to do my own Star Trek podcast.
That's right. That's right.
But no, that's where this all comes from, is from... there's like 3 episodes where they've landed on that square and they have to record from the bathtub. And that was the episode I was listening to while walking the dog one night. I was like, holy shit, I've been trying to think of a podcast idea. Let's just do them all from the bathtub.
It's been quite pleasant. But again,
Yeah.
I don't know how to record with clothes on now.
Yeah, that's the one negative.
It's going to make some people uncomfortable at some point.
Yeah. Do you think we should talk about like how we know how to do this already and why we have all this equipment, like to know how to even make a podcast? Because I feel like you listen to any podcast, even The Greatest Generation, their first season is so bad. Or My Brother and My Brother and Me, the like biggest podcast and oldest, like one of them ever. They recorded their first season on Guitar Hero microphones, but
Nice.
We both have histories in audio.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that a little bit if you want. We've mentioned it on episodes previous. That was one of the things when Corey came to me with this idea, and I was apparently at an AFI concert. My brain immediately went to recording in a bathtub. Yeah, I can do that. How do I do that? And that is because I'm an audio engineer. That's part of what I do for a living. I do audio.
That's the majority of what you do for a living, right?
It's probably 50-50, give or take. But yeah, I do live sound, I do recording, like I do mixing. So this was nothing completely new to me. I was like, I've never recorded a podcast in a bathtub before. I have recorded and edited podcasts. I just haven't been the talent.
Yeah, and I went to college for audio engineering. I have a bachelor's in music technology, but now work in IT because I couldn't find anything right out of college, and that's just where I ended up. But I used to be a streamer. I streamed for a while to be able to keep up my like audio and video chops on Twitch, and I was actually for a time a Twitch affiliate, not a partner. That would have been sweet, but an affiliate. But this was another excuse because I didn't have the time anymore, with a then pregnant wife and then knowing a kid was coming up, I couldn't get back into Twitch and streaming regularly. but I wanted to keep doing something with audio. So that was another reason I wanted to get a podcast going. And it has also been great. I have had to learn how, not the audio part of it, but making the video stuff recently for our socials. Holy shit.
Yeah, you've been doing a ton with the video. That's
Oh.
still fairly foreign to me. This is my first video of the entire podcast. It's not completely true. I did a couple short video edits from the Halloween special, but
You did.
this,
Yeah, I've done all the other video stuff.
It's all been
because I
him.
did actually. I took 2 video classes in college, and I mean that was like a decade ago almost at this point. But I at least have the base framework of knowing where to look in a video editor.
right. I've done a little bit here and there for, clients when it's been really simple stuff that they needed, but yeah, not something I do much of.
Oh, you mentioned how you use a shotgun mic. I mean, we were talking about this before we started recording, is that we have very different ways of going about AV.
Yes.
Even though we are both trained in it, where your first thought was, how can I do this correctly? And we'll have to share a picture. I've already shared on our TikTok what my setup looks like right now with video, but what your setup looked like for this. But I don't think like that. I'm like, how can I just make this work and jerry rig it? So you got, a shotgun mic to be away from the water. You run it straight to your desktop and have it going through outboard gear. My first thought was to get a plastic board, screw in some wood on the bottom to give it a little stability and some grippy feet, and just put my whole ass setup over the bathtub, because that would be easy and sound good.
Yep. And that's what you did.
And that's what I do.
Yep.
Yeah, I have my interface, laptop, now camera, microphone, all sitting on a big plastic sheet right above my naked body in a body of water.
Mine feels more convoluted. Like when you put it that way, like yours seems very concise. It's in front of you. It's easy to access.
That's why I did it.
I admit that mine poses more difficulty if and when things go wrong. But mine, I do have a normal bath tray over my table, which I will admit is not large enough. I may need a plastic sheet with a piece of wood screwed to it.
Yeah, I made mine.
I have a shotgun mic coming in from outside the tub over top of me in the direction I'm speaking. And then I have a laptop on my toilet to the left of me that has my notes on it.
I didn't know that.
Yep, that has my notes on it. That's where I'm getting my shit from. But yeah, my interface is on my desk in my living room with my laptop. So I've got an XLR running all the way in there for the microphone. I've got my extended headphone cable running in there. I've got another run going in there for when I play sound off of my phone during the episode. And then I actually control it all from my iPad, which sits on top of that board over my tub.
That's such an absurd setup. I mean, it makes sense, and it's probably the safest thing to do. But man, it's so much work.
The weirdest part is remote controlling the computer from the iPad, because it's most of the functionality, but it can get a little touchy, and when you fuck something up, it's hard to get it back.
Yeah. I don't even listen to myself. We talked about this. I don't know if it got included in the episode, but if I'm just recording my voice and not doing music, I don't like hearing myself, because I start getting into this weird headspace of like hearing myself and then trying to talk with myself. So then I end up talking slower and slower and slower. So I just have the call on my phone with some Bluetooth headphones, and just hear you.
And part of why my setup is more complicated is because I have the opposite going on. I have our Facebook call going through my computer specifically so I can hear myself.
Yeah, I tried doing it back when I would stream on Twitch, and by the end, I would just be talking like really slowly. Because subconsciously, I was trying to talk along with myself, and that little delay was fucking me up.
That's so strange. You just sounded drunk. Whatever.
I'm not. I didn't even take my anxiety medicine like I usually do before we record. That was one thing I forgot.
Well, hope you're full of anxiety.
Always.
Same though.
This is so laid back. Like,
Well, yeah.
I'm enjoying this. This is cool. I just finished off my mocktail.
Mine's getting low.
Well, good thing I got Bush's NA sitting right next to me. Bush NA, low key, if you're looking for like an alternative to beer, that is the best non-alcoholic beer. As if you're looking for like a cheap, like if you are somebody who drinks a lot of just cheap beer all the time. I'm not a Bush's drinker, but that is the best cheap NA beer. Old Milwaukee makes a good one too, but it's hard to find.
Interesting. Two brands I would not think of.
Yeah, because I was a High Life drinker before. That was my go-to beer, and Miller does make an NA beer. It is the worst one I've tried. It's so bad. Oh my God. Because, like, Budweiser's is fine, but it's completely flavorless. It's just like carbonated water with, like, a hint of wheat. But,
Okay.
like, Miller's was actively bad.
You don't want that out of a beverage. You don't want actively bad.
Oh, man. Sam Adams makes the best craft one I've had so far. They're, if you could call them craft, but like something better than just your cheap 30 rack type of beer.
Fair enough.
Theirs is so good. Oh man, it's wonderful. I have been teasing I needed to have a conversation about the tick with you for like 7 episodes now. And I think we should finally get into it. My
right.
big thing, I said that weird, but like, is the tick naked at all times?
I see. So, not a costume.
Yes. Because there's no zipper where everyone else has a zipper somewhere on there. We never see him take it off. He's the only superhero we see not in civilian clothes at any point. I
true.
think and he can control his antenna, which look like it's part of the suit. But if he can control him like that, I think he's naked.
I mean, it would make sense going back, especially to Arthur Needs Space. Sex was
It's
very
funny you
forward
mentioned
to
that
him.
episode because I wrote that down as the least memorable episode because like 2 weeks ago I went back and rewatched all the episodes and the episode was happening and I was like, I don't remember this episode like almost at all. I was even looking at my notes and I was like, nothing happens in this episode. It's not good or bad. It's just a non-episode to me.
Fair enough. Okay.
I mean, you don't have any other thoughts on this? I thought this was going to be like a 20-minute long conversation. That's why I kept putting it off.
It's like you said before. I do and I don't want an origin story here. The mystery.
That doesn't have to do. What does it have to do with him being naked?
Because I feel like to know that you have to know more. Like you go back to the question of is Tick an alien? The question about how he may have lived for at least 1 million years. Like I feel like there's a lot that comes up when you start asking about if he's wearing clothes or not.
I don't know.
Because then we're questioning his anatomy. And if he's human.
And then also, because going back to the one where we find out the tick has a fake wife who is faking it, she had fake pictures created. He's only in a suit in those two, so that means she could not find a picture anywhere of him not like that.
Yeah, it's why I asked too when you were going through the cards, the tick, what the fuck are the trading cards? If he was wearing on the one where Tick was wearing Arthur's costume, if it was him in his costume with Arthur's costume over it, because like you've never seen him without his costume, or whatever. Skin, maybe. I want to see you without your skin.
I'm glad I'm not naked for you saying that.
You're also probably glad you don't have your video on, but, someone's going to have to edit this.
Yeah, it's probably going to be me.
But if any of you look like Tick when you're naked, let us know.
Go see a doctor.
Maybe.
Again, this was in another episode. You can let Austin know.
You might be able to throw a dump truck. Like, I don't know.
Do you want to see the Tick's ass? Like,
I kind of now.
I think we're learning a lot about our sexuality in this show too. I found out I'm into. I knew it before, but it reaffirmed my knowledge that I like strong women. There was that episode where Captain Liberty beat up that burglar in front of her date.
Yep.
And we found out Austin's into the Tick's possible behind.
I just know that the league was too hiney centric for the Tick. I'm not sure it would be for me.
I'm glad you know your truth.
Show me your heinies.
On that note, this is probably what people are going to want to know most. What was your favorite episode?
All right. I went back and forth between two, I'll admit.
I'm down to 2, and I still don't have a final decision. So that's why I asked you first.
For those of you who have listened attentively and remember what the fuck I've said over the last 9 episodes, this won't come as a surprise to you. I'm going to give my favorite episode as episode 7, The Tick versus Justice.
I knew you were going to pick that one.
That episode simply exists on a different level from the rest of the show, in my opinion. That being said, if I were to introduce someone to this show, 1, I would probably direct them to the podcast. But 2, if I was to give them one episode to be like, hey, check out this show, it would be episode 6, The Big Leagues. I think that it was the most fun to talk about from what I remember. And I think that it is a better example of the show as a whole. Because like I said, for me, The Tick versus Justice really stood on a different level. It does not reflect the show as a whole.
I knew you were going to pick The Tick versus Justice. For the same reasons we discussed in the last episode.
Yep.
And it's funny because the 2 I have it down to are The Big Leagues and The Terror, which was episode 9.
Figured.
And I think The Big Leagues is my favorite episode. I'm gonna call it. That is my favorite episode. Because I also went back and listened to most of our episodes just to get prepared for this. And that was, like you said, the most fun to record and talk about.
Right.
And, I mean, that may also be rubbing off because I hinted at it in some of the notes that I edited 3 episodes, or was it 2?
Oh, God, I don't remember.
It was either 2 or 3 episodes of this podcast. Austin has done the audio editing for all the others, but I'm the one who posts it on the podcast RSS feed. But that was one of the ones I did edit, and I had such a good time doing that for that episode.
Yeah, that was a fun episode all the way through.
Yeah. So if that's your second and that's my first, are we in agreement that that may be the Bathtub season pick as a show? Do we have to give one?
I don't know that we have to give one, but I think it's safe to say that it is. Like I said, I have a personal favorite that goes a bit above it, but I do think that this is the best episode of the show that really is the show.
And I don't even think it was a bad not interpretation, but whatever you said, like a bad representation, that's the word, of the Tick, because it's still full of amazing lines by him.
Yep.
You get the full interaction of everybody, and who they are. It's just a good episode. It's so good.
Great lines, great moments. It's a lot of jokes, very well put together still. And it has that vibe. It has the vibe that like I oozes from the show in its best parts.
It really is so good. And it was just last episode, but we've discussed our differences of opinions on the terror, but I loved it. I thought it was I think concise is the word I just kept coming back to in my head and that's what I enjoyed. Those were the episodes I liked that felt like there was no slow parts or quick parts. It was just 21 minutes of great story and funny jokes.
Yeah, I think for me, and I'll admit that it's hard to take in an entire piece of media completely unbiased when you go into it at one point and it sets you up for what you're going to continue seeing. So it's hard to look at it as a season, and the way we watched it especially, is more akin
with scrutiny.
With scrutiny, but also more akin to how it would have been consumed when it was coming out, on a weekly basis, or in our case, sometimes longer. You have that time between to sit with it, whatever. So I do think that there's a certain vibe that you get from the first 3 or so episodes when it was, less well produced, but there's just this vibe to it that when that comes through on the later episodes that are just better episodes, that's when it really feels like the show.
Yeah, but I don't know if we need to pick an official least favorite episode, but after rewatching them, I think the pilot may be my least favorite.
Well, we're at opposite ends.
I mean, but it was a pilot. I mean, you watch the first episode of Seinfeld and it's terrible.
Right, yeah, no, pilots
are going to be rough.
Yes.
I'm glad they didn't lean into as much pure corniness and camp as they did in that one. I think that's what bugged me. It was just such a dichotomy between them wanting to show that it was an adult humor show, but also with weird slapstick childlike humor. So it didn't feel like it quite had an identity yet. They were torn between the two.
I think that's part of what I enjoyed about the pilot. Like it was rough, but it was just full of that camp and that weirdness and that whatever.
I do wish they would have continued the background poster and sign jokes, because that is one thing I really liked about the first episode. And it's funny about the second one too, which was slightly better, but still very much the same vibe. When I think of the Tick, for whatever reason, like as the TV show, not the character, my brain immediately goes to his speech at the funeral. That's the first thing I think of when I think of the show.
Good.
It's so good. That I think really solidified what my next question is, which I didn't write down, but I after thinking about it, did you like this show? Because I'm sure we are going to have some seasons where that is not the case.
Absolutely sure we are. I did like this show. I liked this show very much. It's rough around the edges. It's a little rough in the middle sometimes, but I thoroughly enjoyed this show.
100% the same. I said it in an early episode of the podcast, but I knew of this show, but I had this weird memory from when I was a kid of my dad watching it and being like, why is my dad watching like a kid's show? Like, that's not how superheroes are supposed to be. And I just never got around to actually watching it. And it's so good. It's so good. I love this show. And that was actually one of the questions I did have written down is, do you see yourself coming back and rewatching it outside of us doing this podcast?
So I absolutely do. I definitely see myself watching this again. I think the having done the podcast makes me want to watch it again more in some ways than I might have otherwise. But I think even if I had just watched it on my own, I would want to watch it again.
Yes, and sorry, my mic is like slowly dipping down. I was fixing it, uh, but 100% the same. And it's not for the reason I thought it was going to be. I thought this, I was like, when going into this, I was like, this is probably going to be a pretty funny show, especially after watching the pilot. But I think what's going to bring me back to this show regularly is something we've talked about. Is there are maybe not a majority, but a lot of these episodes have a weirdly good positive message in them.
Oh, absolutely.
And not in like a bad way or corny way. Like it does it in a really good heartfelt way.
Especially as they went on, there were good messages throughout.
Right. Like I'm just thinking of the funeral. Like the next time I have somebody in my life pass, I probably am going to watch that. Like that it was a really good way of processing death. In such like it This is such a dumb show. It shouldn't be able to do that, but it does. And
No, there were some very poignant moments, some very clear thoughts and insightful thoughts that were shared through a show that sometimes talks about cake that you can't poop.
Actually, that's the last episode I listened to of ours. For whatever reason, that popped up as like play next, and that conversation made no sense when they were talking about the cake. Like she's trying to insult it, but everything she says makes no sense.
I have questions about the cake at this point.
And another one, like I'm a cishet white dude, but if I were to ever like come out about anything, I would watch. What was the name of the episode where Arthur comes out?
Arthur
as
Interrupted.
a superhero. Arthur Interrupted. That could have, like I said in the last episode, that could have been such a bad episode. And there were some jokes that were like dated, but like as a whole, they did it so well.
Yeah, no, that episode had that really great moment about, accepting people for their faults and meeting them where they are. Great. It was fantastic message in that. And TikTok to a toilet.
He did indeed. And it talked back maybe.
There was a lot of gurgling happening.
But no, it was the most unexpected part of the show to me, was that it was able to deal with those kind of things without ever even attempting to dip into like sappiness or like serious moments. And none of those episodes were serious, but they still ended with like dealing with those serious things really well.
Yeah, at no point was it not a comedy, but it did.
Yeah.
But it was at some points more of that heartfelt family sitcom, like Full House or something, with that like big awe moment that you're like, wait, what the fuck? This is the Tick. I really think that, I know we threw around a handful of things when we were talking about what to do for our first season and how to start this podcast, but
You picked the weirdest thing ever.
I don't think we could have picked a better first fucking show. Like
1000%. This was the perfect first show to start this with. It made it so easy. Like I'm worried about future seasons.
Same. Like I don't know how to talk about other shows. The Tick made it so easy.
We could turn this into a Bathtub Tick podcast and just make it as niche as possible.
We just keep going through it over and over.
That's one of the Macro Brothers does that. It's Till Death Do Us Blart, where every year they watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 and discuss it. And that's the whole podcast.
Of course it
so
is.
Things have been done like that before, but no, we're going to do other shows.
Every third season is the Tick again.
I could see, in 10 seasons doing a return. I think that'd be fun. That brings me to my next question, which is the big one in my mind. Do you think this show should have been canceled like it was? Did it deserve to be canceled like it was? I guess those are two separate questions, but they're both valid.
They are. I don't think the show should have been canceled. Part of that's personal opinion. If I was watching the show when it was on the air, I wouldn't have wanted to have seen it canceled. I would like there to be more of the Tick for me to consume now, although it would not have been for this podcast. But I understand reasons why it would have been canceled. I think there are things that could have been improved, things that could have been worked out in the production, in the writing, in the cohesion of pieces of the show that maybe would have given them a better chance. But I don't really know how it was received at the time. I meant to look that up and I didn't. But
I also, I mean, I'm not getting into my answer yet, but it was going to be part of it. I think a lot of the reason why it was the wrong time. Like, people didn't watch superhero movies or TV shows. Like, adults didn't. I mean, there were like, Saturday morning cartoons back when that was a thing.
it was,
But
we were getting into it. We would have been around the time of the first Spider-Man movie.
yeah, around Spider-Man, maybe X-Men, but we certainly weren't into like the Marvel
No,
Cinematic Universe.
we weren't into all that yet.
Or even, DC with like the Christian Bale Batman weren't out yet. Like, so this was,
We
I
would have
think
been
it was
coming up
too
on one of them,
early.
but no. Maybe it was. I don't know.
So I also understand why it was canceled, and I don't actually blame them for it. Like I said, I think the biggest reason in my head is that it was the wrong time, and it was also a transition in TV where they were at times trying to be like a 90s Seinfeld sitcom, but that was at that point even dated. Yeah, I don't know what they also would have done in future episodes, like seasons, because there wasn't, the whole breadth of knowledge people have now just in our culture of superheroes, because of how big they've all grown. I think if this TV show, if the Tick from 2001 was released as a YouTube show today in its exact form as is, it would be the biggest shit ever. I don't see them making a TV show like that for the reasons I just stated, and that TV has they've had to have increased the quality, quote unquote, of the production
Right.
for all television because of the streaming wars. So I don't think that the show would be made today on TV. But if this show came out on YouTube right now without any changes, it would be the biggest shit ever. Like, this is the perfect YouTube show.
Fair enough.
I think if they would have continued on, it would have gotten bad quick in being made when it was, and with how writers were at the time. So I'm not actually mad that it was canceled, and I get it, and I don't blame them. But I know there is like the Amazon Prime Tick, and I want to watch it. But I've watched clips, and it just doesn't have that quality of corniness almost. Like, it doesn't
Okay.
even, I mean, there's like the jokes are, but like it looks like a multi-million-dollar TV show, and that's not what the Tick is.
Yeah, I've not watched the Amazon Prime show. I know it was longer running, it was better received. I've seen,
It's still going.
I thought it was done. I've seen clips of it. So yeah, I know that it's, like you said, the production quality is much higher. It does look like a very high produced show. So yeah, I don't know how it compares as far as the writing and the jokes and things like that. But that was part of my other question with should it have been canceled is should it be revived? And I think this is not a completely unique case, but a kind of unique case in the fact that it wasn't revived, but it was revived. They already did a new project that was better received. It was more successful, and a lot of, or maybe not a lot, but a good number of people that were involved in the version of the Tick that we watched were also involved in the production of that. So I don't see that happening as much as I would like to see that Apocalypse Cow movie.
I could totally see them though making like if the current show continues to grow, and from what I've seen, it's been picking up on TikTok recently randomly.
Okay.
And this is on like FYPs for accounts other than Bathtub Season, so it's not just me looking up the tick, but it does seem to be growing a little bit virally. If I could see them doing like a special or like a made for TV movie almost, if that's even a thing anymore, but that style of movie, not a
Sure.
blockbuster,
Right.
but like straight to streaming of the original cast. And because I mean, Patrick Warburton is the perfect tick.
He is. He is.
Oh my God, they knocked it out of the park. He is the tick. Like, he can play that character so well. I know he doesn't actually act like that in real life, but oh my, perfect choice.
Yeah, nothing. No one would make more sense than him in that role. Like, there have been other roles that have, been recast and reimagined, and I've enjoyed seeing different actors take those shoes, but the tick is fucking Patrick Warburton. I can't see.
It's almost like it was written for him.
Yeah,
like
it's too perfect.
what didn't the tick comic come out in like 89 or something? Like, it was way before he would have been popular like as an actor, but oh my God.
Yeah, definitely,
it's
because
him.
he wasn't involved in the cartoon either, and that was before the live action.
I would love if they would make, even if it was just straight to YouTube, if they got the original, writers and directors and cast just to make like a 15-minute short as them. That, oh man.
That is specifically about what happened after they saved Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
I will be right back. I just realized I didn't plug my laptop in and it's gonna die.
Oh no. Well, hello everybody. How are you doing on this fine day? I'm in a basement right now, and I can hear the wind blowing like crazy through the storm windows. Okay, those aren't storm windows, the window wells. It's supposed to get really cold this weekend, so this fireplace will be in use then.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, I was telling people about our basement.
Well, nice. Are you inviting them over?
I can. You guys want to have a sleepover?
Yes, I do. My
That would be sweet.
robe is very open now. What is happening? Okay.
Yeah, I keep having to like tighten mine up. Plus, so people can see my monogram. I feel so classy in this right now. It's that like old money cool. I feel like my closet looks like I should be out on a yacht, except I still have skinny jeans.
Yep, you are on a yacht, jerry-rigging every part of this podcast while I do it the most professional way possible and look like I'm still in high school.
Now, you've got a yacht. I've got like a pirate ship I've glued together with duct tape. I've glued with duct tape. I figured out how.
I'm the asshole that somehow has a yacht in skinny jeans and Mad Dog 2020 shirts.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any other questions about the tick. I loved it. It's so good. Go watch it if you're also, what are you doing if you're listening to this now? I mean, I guess you could be looking at us in bathrobes. I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Picture in
time
picture.
to jump into the show.
for sure. Would you like to leave us with any favorite lines from the entire season?
Oh shit! How did we forget that?
You tell me.
That was like my number one question.
This was your Robeo.
I know. I don't think it's gonna be my favorite line for the whole series, but it might be. But it's from episode 3 with Fiery Blaze and what was his sidekick?
The flaming glory. Nope. The
Friendly Fire.
Yep, that's the one.
And it's not even a line from the tick. It was my favorite line from that episode when we recorded, but it's when the tick is talking to Fiery Blaze and he says, "Go tell it on the mountain." And Fiery Blaze just stops him, looks him dead in the eye and says, "Dude, I'm on the mountain." That's so funny because it's such nonsense that somebody that full of themselves would say, and it's so good.
I forgot about that line, but I remember that line better because of you from us recording that episode.
It's oh my god, that's oh, it's so funny.
I only had one when I went through and looked for my favorite lines, which I looked at lines from my notes that were outside of just what I picked for favorite line for each episode. But the only one I actually that made it into the final notes for this episode from couples was she makes $5.25 an hour. She can't afford to be nefarious.
That's such a good one. Like
So
I said
good.
in that episode.
That one's top tier. Like that one
That is top tier.
That one could be like best for the series. And
Maybe
what
at
makes
some
that
point-
even better is that was a fucking end credit.
I know I missed it. I like didn't write it down, and when you called it out in the episode, when we recorded, I was like, "Oh, that may be the best line."
It's so good.
Man, I had so many highlighted from when I went back through my notes. Yeah, I'm just looking through my actual notes from the show right now, and I might upload these just so you guys can see just how shitty my handwriting is because I do it on paper. This was I think my favorite episode line from the next episode, which is Arthur says, "This is like bigamy," and the tick says, "It's not like, it is big of you."
Yeah, that was the license. And actually, I had written down after I went through all my favorite lines, or the lines that I thought were best throughout the show, I noted that I thought the best episode's 4 lines were episode 4 and episode 7. So the license and Tick versus Justice.
Yeah, I didn't even think Tick versus Justice did have some bangers. I'll give you that. That one had some bangers. I have no idea because I didn't think about that question.
I really didn't think about it until it was actually that episode that you just brought up, the license. It was that one that made me think of it. It was like, shit, I just wrote down 3 lines from this one episode. Like,
That's the one where you said you should have just printed out the script for your notes, and I think it probably would have been faster.
it probably would have. It probably would have a couple times. Yeah, I've started looking for scripts for some of the stuff we've talked about. I haven't been able to find all of them.
Oh, here's another good one. We're all doing it, chum. That's what we do. We do it. Do what? Therein lies the mystery.
That one's...
I don't remember the context, but that's wonderful. That's such a great tickism. Oh, this one was another favorite from my that I picked in an episode, but the tick saying, "Ugh, my head feels like it's going to have a baby," and Arthur says it's called a headache. And the tick just exclaims, "It has a name." Oh, it's so fun going back through these notes. Oh, here's one from your favorite. I'm a karmic cosmic comet. Learn, what is it? I can't read my...
I'm a karmic cosmic comet leaving my stoned immaculate crater in the soul of the virgin earth.
What does the tick respond? That's what I thought was funny, since you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep. Yeah. That was a really good one. That one definitely made it into the finals here. I also really liked, "Sir, I do not want to have to speak to you again," from the judge to Tick. This was one I don't think got brought up when we were talking about the episodes, but I stumbled upon it when I was going through the notes, and I was like, I like that. This one was from Arthur Interrupted, so the one where he comes out as a superhero. Mm-hmm. The Tick says, "Arthur and I are as one, a 4-legged, 2-headed engine of rightness with nowhere to go but up. We're making gravy without the lumps. We're flying to the moon in a rocket built for 2. Except he gets cut off before he says 2 because Arthur wants him to shut up.
They have such a great library of fantastic tickisms that they could have just done so much merchandising with.
Tick t-shirts for everyone. I want like Tick t-shirts the way they had Bart Simpson t-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Some of my favorites, like I said, were the Terror. There weren't as many as some of the episodes, but the ones that were good were so good.
Yeah, I had a couple from that.
Arthur is broken. Give me 200 cc's of tender loving care. Stat. And then this might be tied with that line with the fiery blaze, and is the tick saying, "Good Lord, man, retain that anus. One day its fruit may be the only thing that stands between us and total oblivion."
Yeah, the two lines, the two that I wrote down were that one and the one about the reign of you.
Yeah, I had starred. When it comes to love for your fellow man, you're a fat fatty.
I also I really liked, well, now somebody else has no space for his somebody else mobile.
You can't go through this whole thing without mentioning Java Double, you are now my bitch.
Of course. That one, that both the coffee lines from episode 1 definitely made the list. I also really loved, I forgot about this line and I had a really great time going through my notes for episode 2. How can I be a superhero in a world where the immortal can die? He was the immortal. I'm just hypoglycemic. What chance could I possibly have?
I had that as a third place episode. That one is so funny.
It is.
That episode is great.
That one was definitely up there for me.
From that episode, real quick, before we move on to another episode, is when the two military officers at the end are like going to stop him. The other one's like, "No, I'm starting to like the cut of this man's gibberish."
Yeah, that was a good line.
Such a good line.
I forgot about that one. That was a really good one. I also really liked in the license. This was, it's kind of funny, but it's also just, I don't know what I like. Sorry, what I like about it so much. But the tick says, "Arthur, I am a citizen of the moment. I've built my white picket fence around the now with a commanding view of the soon to be."
Yeah, I had that one highlighted to bring up on this episode. I was just getting that episode.
I really like that. Since we mentioned earlier
one.
that Arthur Needs Space was a throwaway for you, I will admit only one line made it to my final list. I did end up with at least one line from each episode. And that one was, "Let's not keep her waiting. She'll only perspire and alarm the neighborhood cats."
It's such a good one.
What?
That's so good. Man, this is giving me such good fodder to make posts on TikTok and Instagram about. Did you have any other questions? I kind of let all that.
No, I think that was it. That was covered everything I had written down as far as questions goes.
And I know that's something I need to work on. I think it's also my ADHD. Like, I talk quick, fast, and a lot, and I don't give you enough room to speak. I've noticed that while editing. I've gotten a little better at it, but
I don't know. The last few episodes that I've edited have felt pretty balanced. More so just the way you speak is harder to edit.
yeah, I can look at the waveform and tell when to cut and where you're talking. Mine is just a block of sound.
Yeah, yours all rambles together.
And I can't speak, enunciate. What was it? The crap corner or something? Or there was something I couldn't say like at all.
Yeah, something with crap. You had issues with crap a couple times. Crap lobster was one of them.
That's what it was. Yeah, crap lobster. I said it first try.
Oh shit.
I mean, we could talk a little bit about future plans. We haven't actually settled on what we're going to do next.
One thing I will say is that I've thought about a couple times, and it's a weird sentence.
Okay.
It feels like a weird thing to say, but also I feel like I know you better now. I know what your laughter looks like.
Yeah, I can tell your laughter from the waveform.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got the laughter of like a 50-year-old smoker lady who drinks too much.
I know exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, like we said, I just jump into my thoughts immediately, and yours are very thoughtful and spaced out. You will say, you will think about something for like 10 seconds and then say what you want to say. which makes editing you way easy.
Yes,
Mine is not like that.
No, I've also noticed that and I don't know how I learned to do it, if it's just something I've always naturally done and it just happens to benefit me, or if I learned to do it when I was recording subconsciously at some point over the years, but I have a manner of speaking, and if I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, I tend to restart, so I always have a clean cut point.
Yes, I've noticed that too, which is a good thing to do. I even took 2 speech classes, 2 semesters of speech in college. I hated it. So I have been trained in public speaking, but I'm sure it does not seem that way.
But here we are, having a great time.
Here we are. We are having a good time. I'm getting a little cold and my foot's going to sleep.
Well,
I'm breaking the rules of the internet. Here's my foot, everybody. They always say don't show your feet on the internet. I don't give a shit. That's my foot.
you're supposed to get paid for it, is the thing.
Ow. Oh, and me and Austin have matching tattoos on our ankles. It's a moose.
That's true. I cannot put my foot where the camera is, but that's true.
I've got some stick and pokes on mine. There's the heart I did in high school, and that's from the Adventure Zone Balance, is the Bureau of Balance symbol. And then I got a smiley face on my knee I did myself, too.
I mean, if we're showing off tattoos, I got a piece of graffiti from the Berlin Wall right here, and I have a crow with a knife and fork in it right here. Those are the only 2 you can see right here.
Do you know the biggest piece of the Berlin Wall is at the college I went to, at Capital University in Columbus? I don't know why they have it.
That's strange. That's very strange.
The largest piece of the Berlin Wall in North America is at Capital University in Columbus for some reason.
Well, that's weird.
It's so weird. It's just there. It's just on display. It's huge.
Fair enough. I mean, I've seen pieces of the Berlin Wall before. I actually don't think I've seen the piece at Capitol, oddly enough.
You'll have to go to Columbus. We'll have to meet up in Columbus sometime.
For sure.
So, future plans. I mean, this is going to be brief because, like I said, we don't know what show we're doing next.
We don't.
We have some ideas.
We've discussed, but we haven't decided. Is it? From conception.
I guess if we're going from conception, he's older. But
From inception. From insemination?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But we've discussed doing a couple specials, like made-for-TV movies for our next couple episodes as we get, things finalized for what show we're doing next, and also do record those. Give us a little time because those are a little quicker to edit, or should be. We are awful at being concise with recordings.
Yeah. I'm still impressed with the mad dash I did on the Halloween special.
That's also, I think, our most listened to episode. It's either that or first one of the show.
Fair enough.
Which makes sense, the first one having the most. But I think the Halloween special is either close or higher.
Hell yeah.
That episode was so much fun. So yeah, I think we're going to do some specials. We even talked about bringing in some friends, have some guest speakers.
Jacuzzi tubs.
Yeah, some buddies join in to mix things up as we do those in the meantime. And don't be mad at us if things are late. This episode may even be late, depending on Austin's weekend.
It's true.
Which is totally fine. We're starting out. And we both have full-time jobs, and I have a baby who is teething. So time is tight. Be patient with us and send us suggestions. I would love to hear what you guys have thought of, or like what shows you'd want us to do that only had one season.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any suggestions, I know some of my friends have suggested some things when we've been talking. Like, we'd love to hear them, take them into consideration. Like, Absolutely.
Yeah, and it sounds corny because everyone asks for it, but leave a review of our podcast on whatever you're listening to us
Definitely.
on, other than on Spotify. Spotify, for whatever reason, doesn't let you put written reviews, but I also kind of respect that. But shows the magic algorithms that control our life, that get more, not just 5-star reviews, but have written reviews, get shown to more people, by quite a lot. So if you could do that and you haven't already, that would be all well, my accent just went weird. That would be awesome.
It would be lovely. It'd be wonderful. And we'd very much appreciate it.
Yeah, 1000%. And put your suggestions there, questions. I did check all of our inboxes before recording because on our last episode, we'd asked for people to send in questions. I didn't see any. If I missed any, let us know and we'll answer them on the next episode. But that would be a really cool spot to put them for us to reply to because it makes it really easy for us to see.
Yep. We want to know what we can do better. Or if we're
I'm
doing great.
everything perfectly.
I mean, I want you
I'm
to tell me
killing it.
I'm doing great, but also if I'm not doing great, I also want to know.
Yeah. I still don't. I don't think I want to know on that, but I guess that would probably be good. Not positive criticism. What's the word?
Constructive.
Constructive.
But
Constructive.
I mean,
criticism.
destructive criticism, is that welcomed?
Yeah, that's also what I call my internal monologue most of the time, but that would not be cool to put.
Don't let your internal monologue write the review. Got it.
Correct. But I think Austin, we recorded an episode.
I think we did.
Is there anything that you've been up to recently that you would like to share and suggest to our listeners as far as things to do or watch or play or check out?
Lately, I have spent a lot of time playing Spider-Man 2. If you have a PS5, I suggest that. If you're like me and didn't own a PS5 but want to play Spider-Man 2, be like me and go buy one and play Spider-Man 2. I beat that in like 3 or 4 days. I put in way too many hours in that while I was off work over the holidays.
Did it so fast?
Yeah, yep. I'm currently at a more leisurely pace playing RoboCop Rogue City. I highly recommend Spider-Man 2 for one. I also highly recommend RoboCop. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It is 100% for fans of RoboCop and fans of like PS2 shooter games. If you like those two things, fuck yeah.
I love that era of first-person shooter or even third-person. There were a few good third-person shooters from the era, but I've actually never seen RoboCop.
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's a good movie. I recommend that too. I know it is on streaming right now. I can't remember what service, but I just ran across it. But the game is a great homage to the movie. Like it feels very much like the movie, but it also feels very much like a PS2 era game, just with like way
That's
better
awesome.
graphics.
So for mine, I was going through the same thought process that we did on last episode, where we're in those cold winter months, and a lot of times you're stuck inside, so you're doing projects around the house, and you just need some good white noise that's like funny, but like you don't have to pay attention to. And my all-time favorite, well, I guess maybe not. There's some close ones, but one of my favorites is a YouTube series that is Moon Quest by the Yogscast, which if any of you listening or watching are into Minecraft and have been for a while, I'm sure you know who they are. But it's a very classic, well-known YouTube series about these friends playing in modded Minecraft trying to get to the moon. And it's hilarious and like 1 billion hours long and just the perfect white noise for when you're doing something else. So I would suggest that. I just finished that in Mars Quest, which was the follow-up. That one is just okay once they start that section of it. But yeah, Moon Quest is wonderful. There's a few missing episodes, and unfortunately, those are like the funniest episodes. So look up playlists on YouTube. People have re-uploaded them, and it's for like copyright reasons why they took them down for some of the music they used. But you can find playlists of people who put up playlists with the missing episodes in it. So yeah, that's what I would suggest for watching. And if you haven't played Dave the Diver yet, that is the perfect, maybe not perfect. Stardew Valley, like I said last time or the time before, is the perfect cozy couch game. But that's a good one. It's gotten a lot of weird press, but it's great. And Dredge has also been really good, but I think I like Dave the Diver a little bit more.
Fair enough.
And go do your hobby. If I think I don't know. I think if there's a hobby you haven't done in a while, go do that. I recently did some woodworking over the holidays to make people gifts to save some money, and I hadn't done that in years. It was so much fun. So if you have one you haven't done in a while, go do it. Just enjoy what you can while being stuck inside in these cold months.
Definitely.
All right, Austin. Well, we will talk to you all soon with hopefully some specials and then our next season. But otherwise, until then, go take a bath. You deserve it.
And get yourself a robe if you don't have one.
Get yourself a robe. They're great. I feel so good right now.
Robe bathrobe. It's a never-ending cycle. You just go from one comfy to the next comfy. You have your drink and your weed and whatever you need wherever you go. Bathrobe, robe bath, bathrobe. It's what you do.
I feel like 70 years ago, it was really common for people to just wear robes around the house when they got home from work. Like, you know, the guy, you always see in like old like shows, like the guy gets home from work and just, you know, takes his suit off and puts a robe on. We need to bring that back. This is great.
Or you get a smoking jacket and put it on over your suit.
I would love a smoking jacket. I don't know if I could rock it, but I still want one.
Oh, we could rock them.